It's a final word, World Cup Daily. Adam Collins and Cam Ponsonby in London. The action on day 17, the first of two games, double header, was at Lucknow between the Netherlands and Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka finally on the board. Cam, tell us about it in 30 seconds.
Is this Sri Lanka's true mean? They were way better today. They lost all three matches going into this contest, but they'd actually been fine with the bat. We get to the Netherlands, they fall to 90 for 6. Logan van Beek and Sibrand Engelbrecht put on together 130, a record for the Netherlands' 7th wicket partnership in any ODIs. Gets himself up to 262. Is it enough? No. Two excellent partnerships. That Samara Wickrama was a part of both of them. He gets 90 red. Nasanka gets a third 50 in a row. They get home very comfortably by 5 wickets.
Yeah, they're home by 5 wickets with 10 balls to spare. So Samara Wickrama 91, not out. Lanka 44. Nasanka up the top, 54 from 52 to put a dent in it. They did lose 3 wickets in the first 16 overs, so they're 104 for 3, and the Dutch have a chance, but back-to-back partnerships of 77 and 76 end that. So Sri Lanka are on the board. They should have done it more easily than they did, really, when you consider the Dutch were, as you point out, 91 for 6. When Logan van Beek walked out to join Engelbrecht. And look, that was a fabulous partnership. It took them from the 22nd over to the 46th over. It was the backbone to build something credible from. And, 262 is a credible score in this World Cup so far. It felt vaguely defendable given the strong suit for the Dutch has been, so far at least, with the ball. Like, from Sri Lanka's perspective, it felt relatable. You get a side 91 for 6, you start thinking about what the afternoon tea might taste like. You go, we knock them off for 120 here. That's early shower, quickly. Doing something else, more options in the evening.
Exactly.
Or late afternoon, could be on the balcony having a beer by, say, 4 p.m, day game, morning start. But that's when things slip, as they can do. When you get into that mindset that it's going to be over soon, one partnership can change the whole energy of the match. And I genuinely thought it was going to be that way. Sri Lanka, the measurables, they bowled 26 wides today. They dropped some bad catches at different points as well. There were several misfields, a couple of comical ones. There was a penalty runs when the ball hit the helmet at one stage. That'll feature again in the Hall of Fame. So it did go off the rails, but commendable they were able to get it back on track in time. You look through their what do you call it, phase by phase breakdown.
Yeah.
They made 56, 57, 58, 54 in the first 40 overs of their chase, and that meant they were never really in major trouble.
I thought the batting innings of Sri Lanka really kind of spoke to kind of a positive mentality within the group. This is a team who's lost their first 3 matches. They've lost their skipper. It's all been going wrong on paper, as it were. They have this 7th wicket partnership, which is a gut punch of a partnership. It's one of those momentum turners. It wasn't even like once that partnership was broken, the Netherlands stopped. They got another 40 off their final 5 overs. And so, for all intents and purposes, everyone's played that cricket match where it becomes funny runs at the end of the first innings where it's like, oh my God, I cannot believe we've somehow managed to get in this game. Oh my goodness me, we're ahead. And then to come out and to bat it with the calmness and kind of assurity that they did, I thought it was very interesting the way they kind of attacked Aryan Dutt, the off-spinner, in a way that South Africa didn't. And I thought it was, we spoke about before, the difference in the South Africa game is South Africa lost those 7 overs and there was that immediate run rate pressure if a few overs snuck by. Here, Sri Lanka broke the back of the chase. Yes, they lost those 3 wickets in the first 15, 16 overs, but they were trotting along at 6s.
That's right.
And so actually, even when kind of they fell 3 wickets down and Lanka came in, I think it was, they were fine. They just had to bat. They kind of did that. They did the bit at the beginning where they kind of took the sting out of the chase and they were able to just be like, if we bat for as long as we can, we will win the game.
There was a net run rate opportunity for Sri Lanka in all of that. So I think the 15th over, maybe the 16th went for plenty. I think it was 16 off Baz Delita. And you can see a world there where they ice it and win it in 40. But it was the loss of the 3rd wicket, which was Lanka bowled Mo across the line.
Oh, that pissed me off that so much,
it was a bad shot, wasn't it? And Lanka's a better player than that. We saw how well he fielded today as well. Lanka threw himself around a couple of times when he took balls on the body and he was really attacking attacking balls that often you let bounce to you in the field. So, credit to him for getting where he needed to be, but getting out when he did. That was Dutt's 3rd wicket after picking up the Kusals, Pereira and Mendes in quick succession inside the first 10 overs or so. So, there was a window, but it was the fact that they had their big overs along the way, that they were in a position where they could absorb a bit of pressure.
It's kind of, this is potentially being too negative in terms of honing in on something that Sri Lanka did badly, but that Lanka shot blew my mind because he had this, they were giving him the big ups on commentary. He averages 91 in ODIs against off-spin, which is very unusual for the left-hander because the ball's spinning away, etc. And Dutt was the Netherlands' best bowler. There was a reason he was bowling out with He was about to finish his 10th over, and the Netherlands had only bowled 33. There's a reason that's the case, because they think he's the most dangerous bowler. And that's Lanka with 3 balls left of Dutch spell, goes for this massive mow across the line. And I, a bit of behind the scenes stuff, I was thinking at the end of Dutch spell I was going to make my way over here to record this, because that was going to be game over, game done. They've iced it. Yeah. Then he gets out and I sit back down and go, Adam, I'm going to be a little while longer just in case this is the part where it gets a bit spicy. But no, it was Lanka. I guess to give him credit where it's due, he got 44 and helped his team on the way.
I texted you when it was 91 for 6 and said something similar. This could be the quick finish today. Get your ass into gear, get round here, and we can record early and get a cup of coffee or something like that. Wasn't to be. Look, the Netherlands have a block with Sri Lanka. For whatever reason, they just can't beat them. The 2 times in the qualifier in Zimbabwe, they were knocked over handily. And it felt like it was going to play out that way again today. So Rajitha is all over them to begin with, takes 3 wickets, but the first of those... they've only got 7 runs on the board in the 4th over. So the contrast in the innings were that the Netherlands couldn't get going inside the power play. O'Dowd hit a 6, then chopped on. That was an ugly dismissal. Not as ugly as Ackermann's, who looked set. I think he was 31 from 29, hit 5 boundaries, looked really good. A waft and edged it. Then Delita. They reckon he's vulnerable against the short ball. This might go back to the Harris Ralph exchange at the T20 World Cup last year. Whenever he walks out, you're seeing the field spread for the short ball, mid-off and mid-on come inside the circle.
It's so and he gets unfair,
out, caught down at deep third, so the perception will prevail and continue. Then Netamandaru gets an absolute beauty from Madashankar, who took 4 wickets today. And I think that he's turning himself into one of the real finds of the tournament. Hasn't played loads of international cricket before arriving here. Left at, I wouldn't say extreme pace, but up in the mid-130s, swinging it back towards right-handers, per that leg before I mentioned before, and also able to stand it up off the seam and work away on the angle.
He's a very aesthetic bowler. It looks nice. And I guess almost you can make an argument, say it could go the other way, where he runs into bowl and I'm like, I know what his best ball is going to look like. Yep. It's going to shape him back into the right-hander. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be nice. It's going to be LBW. But it's kind of out of keeping with the rest of the modern game, where it's more of a case of wobble seam and cross seam and trying to use the pitch. Madashankar, when he has that new ball in his hand, it is kind of... this is just kind of shows the era I grew up watching cricket, but I think of it as like a mirrored Matthew Hoggard, 2005 Ashes, swinging the ball back into Hayden and like his pads. But Holland, the Netherlands, they haven't... Kind of looking through their scores... They haven't quite put together the complete batting innings yet. They're in the first match against the New Zealand, they were 120 for none, and then they crumbled against South Africa. And then today again, they've had the tail kind of bail them out. And I guess to put a positive spin on it, I think something a lot of people are saying, and I'd subscribe to as well, is how enjoyable it is to watch them and how obvious a team and a unit they are, and kind of how invested in the tournament they are. I think. When I think about Australia's first 2 games when they were losing, I think Australia have the worst poker face of any team ever. When they are doing badly, they all look so sad. And I think the same with Holland is that they all look so invested and so kind of passionate about these 9 matches and the opportunity that's in front of them. I think they'll look at today, and given they talked about the South Africa winners, we weren't shocked. We don't consider it an upset. They'll look at this as a real missed opportunity to kind of double down on the fact that they are kind of one of the big boys, basically.
Yeah, I mean, there's every chance they're 2-2 after today, right? Like, if you make 262 and you get out of a hole like that and you're carrying whatever momentum you have into the second innings, that was near enough to a 50-50 game at the halfway mark. And yes, they have been competitive in every game they've played. The difference between this, to my way of thinking, and tournaments where associate members were a part of it before, and now I'm thinking back to 2015, bigger tournament, 2011, and all the way back to 1996. But the difference now seems to be that the associate nations that play, there's only one in this tournament, for shame, but that's getting rectified by the next time around. It doesn't feel any different, whereas it used to. To be blunt, it used to feel different when there'd be sides who would play in the 50-over World Cup, and like say Namibia in 2003, the Netherlands in 2003, and when they played against the big boys, invariably they'd be rolled over. Sure. There'd be some upsets, of course, famously Bangladesh in 1999, Kenya in 1996, of course Ireland in 2011 beating England, but the central case was the associate member against full member game would be relatively one-sided. That's no longer the case, and that's to the immense credit of those administrators who had the foresight to implement not only the World Cup Super League, but the level below it as well. I think it was called League 2, wasn't it? Yeah. So there's been so many one-day internationals played for sides who wouldn't have otherwise played against each other in this 4-year window. And Geoff and I have talked about it repeatedly on the podcast. It makes it all the sadder that the fixture list for the Dutch will probably be quite limited in the next 4 years. There'll be fewer one-dayers anyway, but without that organising structure, if they were to make the World Cup 4 years from now, and that's no sure thing because the level below the top 7 or 8 is really competitive, remembering that Ireland, the Windies, Zimbabwe, even Scotland, who I think are ranked 11th in the world in one-day cricket right now, they'll all be vying for those extra spots come 2027. So my fear is that next time around, the sides that make it who aren't full members won't actually be as strong as the Dutch. And that's not to do anything to do with the progression of cricket in their countries. It's to do with the lack of competition they're likely to get against the big boys between now and South Africa.
That's interesting because I correct me if I'm wrong, but my impression of it has been that if you look at the upsets and you look at the matches in history, it was a case of Kevin O'Brien's innings is the perfect example. Is it requires someone to have the best day of their life, basically. And it really emphasises that cricket is the team sport for individuals, to use the old adage. Whereas now it feels like the Netherlands are a team. It's not the case that it's the Netherlands who have Ryan Ten-Doeschate, and if you get Ten-Doeschate out, you get the rest of them out. It's a case of, well, Max O'Dowd might get the runs, Vikram Singh might get the runs, and there is that strength and depth that just didn't used to exist.
And also having a strong leader in Scott Edwards, who's had the chance to be a full-time professional. I know we spoke about the other side of this when they beat the Dutch, the unusual paths to playing in this team, but they are now professional cricketers, which is a great thing. In the case of Edwards, he got an absolute beauty from Tikshana today that spun square. I thought it didn't hit the inside edge. My first impression was
he didn't sweep.
My first impression was, bloody hell, that is the ball of the tournament. It did clip the edge, which is why it hit leg stump. Yeah. But still, it took a good one to get him. Just to continue your thought there about not sweeping.
Why isn't he sweeping every ball? I don't understand. He scores so many runs off it. I just think he should abandon all of cricket's kind of social etiquette and just sweep every delivery, basically.
Just to finish on Sri Lanka's fielding innings, they were rubbish in the field. There was a Wellalage throw. He was the sub to Karunaratne at the non-strikers end at one point. Fell over the top of it, which took Van Beek to his half century. Hemanatha, that dive that wasn't necessary, running in from cover, that was the ball, possibly the ball before the penalty runs, when the wheels were falling off for Sri Lanka. He made the contest, was getting there comfortably, and he dived, he threw his legs up in the air. His legs were higher than his hands, a little bit like Temba Bavuma at the Wacker all those years ago. He didn't need to be, though. He was able to make it there without the dive. You don't get style points when you're playing international cricket. That's ice skating. So they didn't make the most of opportunities they did have in the field. And meanwhile, that partnership, let's go back to it for a sec. Logan Van Beek, who's made a contribution with the ball, a really important one a few days ago in their win over South Africa. And Engelbrecht, who Matt Roller spoke about in our previous show, saying here's one to watch. A 35-year-old hasn't played international cricket yet. He's most well known for the catch he took in 2008 in the Under-19s World Cup. If you YouTube it, it comes under the title Best Catch Ever Taken, and good luck finding a better one at backward point. But yeah, he's proven to be a visionary selection on the back of what we saw today.
Well, it's kind of, it both gives me hope and also makes me sad about whether maybe cricketers aren't as good as I think they are, because he'd stopped playing. He moved to the Netherlands. He'd taken up a job, and someone's gone like, "Oh mate, do you fancy getting back involved?" And his way of getting back involved is to play at a World Cup and score 70 against Sri Lanka. That was remarkable, and I think weirdly, I almost think more of Sri Lanka's performance, given how poorly they fielded, because it'd be so easy to then turn around that innings, be there with the bat, and just to see your top order fall away, because you're like, well, we're losing this match now. Yeah. The momentum's gone. We had a chance. We mucked it up. Our day's done, basically.
And one other thing to note was Asalanka, that dive forward and the great catch he took into deep, which they needed, to break that stand. Just at that point, I think that was Engelbrecht, wasn't it? That was caught in the deep by. No, sorry, it was Van Beek, because they went and checked it upstairs and he waited on the boundary line. I remember that, but still, they just needed to make sure they didn't end up chasing 290. That was a chance from where the Dutch were at, knowing the way the Dutch finished against South Africa a couple of days ago. Cam, time for us to scoot along to the Final Word Hall of Fame. Final Word Hall of Fame is brought to you by Westfield London and Westfield Stratford City. Now, we've been talking in the last couple of days about whether we know anyone between the ages of 12 and 24. You're more likely to be in that swinging arc than I am now. I'm not saying you're close to 24, but you're a lot closer than I am.
Yeah, that's fine. As long as I'm happy knowing 24-year-olds. I'm not happy being a legend I know 12-year-olds.
No, we won't suggest that. Anyone in that age bracket who's looking to take the future with both hands? Well, this weekend, there's a big old do happening at Westfield, Stratford City, and it could be for you. Maybe you're not sure what you're going to do after school, or you want to better understand money. Maybe you're the first league spinner who dreams of carving out a career as a batter. Again, as we said yesterday, that's a final word reference. Future you. So from the 19th, which was a couple of days ago, to the 22nd. So if you're hearing this on Saturday, go tomorrow. It's on Sunday as well. Westfield, Stratford City. There's DJing and hip-hop workshops. There is clothing upcycling sessions. I'm not sure what that means exactly. Clothing upcycling. That might be sort of a play on recycling.
Yeah, no, I do know what that means. It's when you it's like you're upgrading something. You're upgrading an old. Oh, this is bad from us. We've not got a social reference here.
It's okay.
Upcycling. It's like you get something and then you kind of do it up. Basically.
Okay. So I know my wife does a lot of mucking around on Vinted. Might be sort of, that might be something like that. They're not with it.
The act of taking something no longer in use and giving it a second life and a new function.
Well, yeah, there you go. That's kind of the same idea. Like the pair of fucking spikes I bought last week off Vinted that branded themselves as size 11s, but they're size 10s. Now I need to give them away or
false advertising.
Maybe give them to you. I don't know. They're quite
size
nice,
9, unfortunately.
Size 9. You might fit. No. I got nowhere near fitting into them. Trainer trainer customization, mental and financial wellbeing workshops, and even a cricket taster session with Middlesex and Essex cricket clubs. It's quite nice. So
wonderful. There'll
be Middlesex and Essex cricketers at Westfield, Stratford City. Go and get an autograph if nothing else. All the sessions are free, but book online to avoid missing out. Google Westfield, Stratford City for more information. Westfield, London, Westfield, Stratford City. More extra, less ordinary. The most final word moment of the day for you, Cam?
For me, it was when Karunaratne he was chasing a ball that was going off towards cover, and he dives and he gets it, and then kind of in his roll, manages just to launch the ball even further, 4-4, and I thought it was a full marks for effort, 0 for execution, and it kind of played into the carnage that was the Sri Lankan fielding effort at times. Yeah,
it kind of typified how it was going on. I mentioned Sri Lanka's fielding a couple of times. A ball hit him in the nose after launching down was of a similar vein. There was the 5 penalty runs where the ball after the drop, Engelbrecht is beaten by Karunaratne, goes through the gloves of the wicketkeeper and captain, Krishal Mendez, and hits the helmet behind. That's doubly painful there. How about the final ball of the Dutch innings? I don't think I've ever seen that before. The beauty of cricket, one of the great charms of cricket, is you can so often say, "Oh, I've never seen that happen before." So it was what became the final ball anyway. They were bowled out in the 50th over. Run out.
Yep.
So the bye was taken, or not taken really, because the bails were taken. But subsequently, the third umpire called a front foot no ball. So the innings was complete for all intents and purposes. But of course, the run out still stands if it's a front foot no ball. But the score goes from 261 to 262. So it's probably happened, but I've never seen it. And one last thing from me, towards the end when the chase was done, they were pissing it. It was happening. We barely mentioned the 91 not out. But that's okay.
He got 100 a couple of days ago.
Got 100 against South Africa.
I can't talk about him all the time.
It's fine.
Selfish.
It's fine. But Mark Nicholas was on commentary, and he just was kind of drifting away. And that's the beauty of commentary. When it's not exciting, it's not riveting. In fact, Nico said this to us on calling the shots, which we put the whole interview out on maybe 2 years ago on our podcast feed. 2 hours of Nico talking about commentary is absolutely gold. But you can't always be up. If you're driving in fifth gear the whole time, and you've got nowhere to go to when something big's happening, and this game was done. So you can drift. That's the idea of it. And he drifted into talking about applying linseed oil to cricket bats.
Excellent.
And how that was probably wouldn't have been part of your childhood, really, would it?
We had it, because I remember on the bats, they have that little kind of bit in the toe, and you just stick it in there.
Okay, so but mate, the idea of smoothing out your bat, you get a new bat, you put oil on it, you're knocking it in oil on it, and Nico was speaking so lovingly of the process. That is a podcast I would listen to. Mark Nicholas talking about treatment of cricket bats. If he wants to do it on our feed, we'll host him. No dramas at all. That's it for me in terms of the Final Word Hall of Fame. You're good?
Can I just put Arian Dutton as a whole?
Yeah.
His Reebok back's sexy. He's a very good looking boy. He's a very good bowler. He has an incredibly long run up for a spinner.
Yeah.
He's very particular about where the umpire stands, and then he bowls absolute seeds.
Sounds like he's a Final Word favourite, Arian Dutt, with his 3, I think, wickets.
3 for 44.
3 for 44.
Last ball of his spell went for a boundary, which really hurt me. That really upset me.
Stick with us on the feed. So it's one of 2 episodes today. Geoff is going to be covering the game between England and South Africa.
That
Here's
is
a
a
little
game,
bit of a preview. England getting absolutely pumped. They'll probably chase 400 now, I said that. Tomorrow is the grudge match, Pakistan, Afghanistan. They hate each other. That's at Chennai. There'll be brawls at that game. We know that from... you're looking with your hand over your face. Spoiler. England really getting fucked. The Netherlands' next game is against the rampaging Australians, who had that on their bingo card a week ago. At Delhi, it's Wednesday, and Sri Lanka are playing England, who may well be out of the tournament by then, on Thursday at the Chinnaswamy in Bangalore. But Sri Lanka are at last on the board. Their first win of this World Cup. Adam Collins, Cam Ponsonby will be back with you soon enough, I'm sure. It'll be Geoff and me tomorrow. That's all from us. Thank you. Bye.